Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Sorry, just adjust that camera. It didn't make any difference, I realise. Lionsgate 2020. It's actually the day before. It's the 7th of August when I make this. I am literally half deaf. I developed an ear infection and I'm on antibiotics. Don't judge me for that, I hardly ever take them. I'm going to take some homeopathy to balance it out as well. But yeah, I literally can't hear out of my left ear. And I've had a lot of pain and I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning, and Metatron was still giving me messages at 3 o'clock in the morning, one of which I'm about to say to you. Hi, by the way. But I'm going to deliver this message and then we're going to get into Lionsgate, and it's probably one of the most trigger happy subjects, and he's asking me to do it when I'm feeling like this. So there's part of me which at 3 o'clock I said to him, give me a break, to be perfectly honest. But he also told me over the last few days that I'm one of his first responders. It doesn't mean I'm the only first responder, it just means that it's part of my soul contract to be a first responder. What does he mean by that? He means that when there are significant things that are happening in our world, I put my hand up pre-incarnation and said, I will bring some messages through at times when people aren't going to even necessarily want to hear them, and I'm going to bring through a higher perspective, and we're going to work together. So this follows on from the video I did on Beirut. Thank you so much for a huge number of people that have watched that already, and I'm kicking myself a little bit because if you've watched it, you'll know that one of the central messages that came through was the fact that Metatron was saying everybody deserves to live in a neighbourhood that is safe. And so we were talking Beirut, where obviously this huge quantity of ammonia nitrate had been stored next to streets where people lived, or certainly in very close proximity to where people lived. So they were living with this potential poison, literally down the street from them. And Metatron also talked about Bhopal, the disaster in Bhopal, India, where totally different scenario, but again, thousands of people were affected and maimed, killed, and some are still living with the consequences of that gas explosion. And again, it all ties into everybody deserves to live in a safe neighbourhood. Because actually what I'm going to take us through today is the Lionsgate portal, and it feels very Garden of Eden today, okay? That doesn't mean utopia, it just means it's a very beautiful, peaceful place. So if we are going to be treading in beautiful, sacred land, then we cannot take anything with us that is not beautiful and sacred. Why I'm kicking myself is that in the Beirut video, what I had on the tip of my tongue, and I don't think I consciously did it, I just didn't bring it through, probably because it went out of my mind, was the fact that Metatron was also talking about guns. Okay, so this is particularly linked into the USA, probably applicable to other countries as well. So we're going to just spend a minute, 2 minutes talking about guns, because in the same way that having a ammunition dump at the end of your road is not part of New Earth, so too is living in a neighbourhood where everybody has a gun, okay? Yes, I know it's written into your constitution, etc., 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 but that was what I heard. It's time to put the gun down. Now, there is a whole generation that will not do that, but there is a whole generation coming that will. So if you are one of those people who are just completely rigid and it's my right, and it's our way, and you're British and you don't understand, who the hell are you? Yep, I get it. But I'm just passing on the message. And I got this message again, rammed down my throat by Metatron at 3 a.m. this morning. So I've been up since 3 a.m. Because I couldn't go back to sleep because he was so insistent that I tell you this, okay? Generational change is going to come to America in the shape of guns are not going to be part of New Earth. They can't be. They can't be. So what happened was within less than 24 hours of me putting out the Beirut video, there was an announcement, wasn't there, yesterday? I'm not fully up to speed, but let's just bring it up, linked into the NRA. New York attorney sues to dissolve the NRA, the National Rifle Association. Now, some people will be up in arms about this and see it as a purely political move. I've no idea. I'm not into the politics of what's going on there. But what I'm telling you is that Metatron explained to us that events happen in our world and there are multi-dimensional reasons for why they happen. One of the reasons that this investigation is happening into the NRA is linked into the fact that we can't take weaponry into New Earth. Is it going to change overnight? No. Is it going to change in the next year? Probably not, no. Is it going to change within the next 5 years? That's up to you. That's up to the nation of America. But what I can tell you is that the generation coming in, particularly those that have not yet been born, but it also includes some who already are there, who are the way showers, are not going to tolerate living in a street or a road where somebody has a gun, okay? I live in the UK. Nobody in my street has got a gun. If I was living next to somebody with a gun, I wouldn't be happy about it. It's that simple. It's just not part of our culture. It's not part of our constitution. It never will be. I never want it to be. Nobody here ever wants it to be. When rights were taken away about gun ownership after the Dunblane massacre, when many children were killed by a lone gunman walking into a classroom in Scotland, there was no controversy about it. People just gave up their weapons. So why I'm talking about it on Lionsgate Video is there's a tie into, it flows very well from what I was saying in Beirut, okay? It's the same energy, the disarming of humanity is what I'm hearing. Okay, just let that sink in. So if you're triggered by what I'm saying, go beyond yourself, go beyond the gun that you might have in the cupboard or under the bed just in case, and think about it in terms of disarming humanity. And straight away, you will be criticised, or I will be criticised for, well, that's just pie in the sky stuff. Unless somebody believes in pie in the sky stuff and that it's possible to have utopia on Mother Earth without ammunition dumps at the end of our road and without rifles under our bed, then it's never going to happen, even if we're seeding it now. But Metatron is saying it's being seeded now, okay? Right, message delivered, thank you. I'm also not going to accept any flack on that, okay? Because I want this to be about the Lionsgate and I want it to be about the meditation I'm going to take you through. So if I've already lost you and you're already triggered, just switch off, okay? I'll just give you a moment to do that. Having said that, there's now another message I'm going to deliver that might trigger other people. But this is the lion's strength, you see. Sometimes we have to roar. Okay, sometimes we have to roar. I've got Leo rising. I'm able to roar when I have to and when I'm being told to. The other message tied into Beirut was what Metatron was saying was just watch. He was always asking us just to observe the energy of world leaders in terms of their response to what happened in Beirut. Just realised I've got my fan on. Let me just turn that off because it might be a bit noisy. God, that's boiling. It's the hottest day of the year here, by the way. We've just had the Sahara. We've got a Saharan blast coming in for Lionsgate, which is just perfect. Second thing he wants me to say. He was alluding to the fact, just watch the leaders and their response. Some will be war hawks and some will be doves of peace. I'm not going to make any judgment on whether I think this person is a war hawk or a dove of peace. It's not my place to say it. It's actually not even your place to say it. It's just about observing it. But it is extraordinary that I'm being drawn to Emmanuel Macron, the French Prime Minister or President. Sorry, I think he's Prime Minister. Walked the streets of Beirut yesterday. Walked the streets of Beirut and was surrounded by people on the ground begging him for help to dismantle the corruption that is there. Whether he's the man for the job, I don't know. I would actually quite like to read on Emmanuel Macron, and I might very well do that when I'm back to full speed. But I'm just noting that his energy was there within 24 hours. Now, whether that was a planned visit or not is sort of immaterial, because there's divine timing in everything. So even sometimes when we make a commitment to be in a certain place, we don't realise the significance of it until the actual day, do we? And it's like, oh my God, I hadn't realised this was happening, or whatever. He was there on the street. Let me just see if I can pull up a picture of him walking around the rubble, which I guess is what he was doing. Emmanuel Macron. Yeah, I wanted to read on this guy for a while. He's one of those figures that seems to generate considerable strong opinion either way. Okay, I'm just going on. I'm just reading headlines. This is the Guardian's headlines. It says Macron's message to Beirut: "Will deliver aid and home truths to your government." Tell you what, if this guy can do that, good for him. I'll support him. But as I say, I'm not going to read on that today. Just want to see a picture of him. Here he is. Beirut explosion. Macron mobbed on shattered streets of Lebanon capital. Oh, it's taking me to a video, not a photograph. Anyway, thought that was worth noting. You know, as I say, he divides opinion. There's another paper here who's accusing him of smirking at a crowd during a Beirut visit. Well, I strongly suggest that he probably wasn't doing that. I think sometimes when you find yourself in extraordinary situations, the nerves can kick in as well. Whether it's that or not, I don't know. Let's get on to Lionsgate. Let me put my computer away. Which I'm immediately regretting that I've done, because now I can't remember the name of the lions. Hubert and, this is who I'm talking about, guys. Klarissa. Just remembered, they've just told me. Hubert and Klarissa. I mentioned these two in a video a few days ago. They died, I think, about a week ago in LA Zoo. They were 21 years old, which is very old for a lion. They'd lived beyond their natural lifespan, and they were in very bad declining health. One of them needed to be put down, and it was decided that both would be put down together because they'd lived their whole life together. They worshipped each other, actually. There's another beautiful photograph here. Isn't that love, okay? Total love. And here's another one of them. So we're going to be linking into their energy today. And they're going to be walking us through this portal, Lionsgate, which is, it's called the Lionsgate Portal 88, but it actually has been open for a little while, and it closes, I believe, on about the 12th of August. So you don't have to watch this on the 8th, but you can if you want to. I just want to get this up. So just reading some information here. The Lionsgate is a time of increased cosmic energy flowing between the physical and the spiritual realms, has ties to ancient Egypt, and for thousands of years has been observed and honoured as a time of great energetic influx and activation. It's marked by an alignment between the Earth and the star Sirius. As the star Sirius rises in the sky, Orion's belt directly aligns with the Pyramid of Giza. And from our perspective on Earth, it appears that Sirius comes closer to the Earth. The star Sirius is twice the size of our sun and 26 times brighter. It's a serious source of spiritual light on the inner planes. It's called the Lionsgate. Okay, I've just read that from askangels.com. It's always important to credit people's work if you're reading it. I've had this altar sitting on my desk all week, brewing. And I said I was going to just explain some of the things that I've got here, and then we're all building up really to the meditation that we're going to be doing. I bought my orange roses, aren't they beautiful? Started this week, but the rose and the freesia wanted to come together, and I'm realizing now what I've done, because there is that link to the Christ energy. Christ as the lion, but also the lamb. Let me just try and get one of these out. Are you getting hot? That flower is getting hot from that orange flame. I need to move it closer to me. Can I get a freesia out? Freesias were my grandmother's favourite flowers. I always think of my gran when I buy freesias. Oh God, look how beautiful they are. Aren't they beautiful? The rose represents the lion to me because it's a sturdy flower and proud and can be stubborn. Anybody that's ever tried to grow a rose know they can be stubborn plants. They can be difficult to grow. Some people have got green fingers and find it really easy. I find them quite difficult. The lady who invited me into her home in New York, where we did the Mary Magdalene workshop, hello to you. If you're still watching me, hello to you. You had a beautiful rose garden. This rose is for you. Okay, anyway, yeah, the rose feels as though it's symbolic with the lion, particularly the colour that I've chosen here, that beautiful orange, isn't it gorgeous? And the freesia to me feels as though it's very much linked into the lamb. So we're talking about two different qualities that can lie down beside each other and work together. And as I'm saying that, Metatron is also going back to Beirut and what's happened this week, which I have to keep referring to because, to be perfectly honest, yesterday, admittedly I wasn't feeling well, but there was a part of me that thought, oh God, I'm just not going to be able to do anything for Lionsgate this year. I'm just going to let it go. You know, I've done it for however many years running. I haven't got the energy for it because the energy wasn't there. It's because there had been such an outpouring of grief. As an empath, you feel that, you absorb that. And even though you put your protection up and try not to, you know, some of it will get through. And so I just thought, I don't feel I can do it. But again, alluding back to the Beirut situation, what Metatron's saying is that the war hawks and the doves of peace need to lie together, okay? What he means by that is that they both need to sit down around a table and listen to each other. It's the only way there's going to be a break in the impasse. Okay, anyway, those are my flowers. Very beautiful. Hello, Gran, I want to say as well at this point. She had a very difficult life, actually, my grandmother, on my father's side. She suffered with mental illness for a lot of her life, and she had quite a sad life. But anyway, hi. If you're around and you can hear me, hi. I hope you're happier now. I'm feeling quite emotional as I say that because do I want to share that? Yeah, no, I'll share it. My grandmother committed suicide when I was about 15, and because of that, it's not that it's a taboo subject in our family. It's just it's not talked about very much, to be perfectly honest. Maybe it should be. So there's a reason why I'm bringing her up, isn't there? So it feels as though it's also linked into the ancestors, and that when we walk through a Lion's Gate or a portal of any description, we're walking through on behalf of our ancestors as well. I'm really feeling that. I'm really feeling as though this Lion's Gate helps us to heal the pain, the scars in our bloodline, the trauma in our bloodline, which even though, you know, I'm not her, I don't have her life, it's a totally different circumstance, etc., we carry the wounds of our ancestors without really realising we're doing it a lot of the time. So I do feel as though I'm feeling it really deep in my gut. Oh, wow, okay, I didn't even know I was going to mention her. She was called Elsie, by the way. Maybe send her some love. I'd like you just to spend a moment thinking about any ancestor in your life, whether you know them consciously, you knew them when they were alive, or whether you didn't know them, who are requiring some healing, some acknowledgement. There's a part of you that's still carrying a wound, whether it's linked into mental illness or crime, I'm hearing, for some people watching this. Also acts of war, you know, back to Beirut. I can't get away from the Beirut situation because it was meant to wake us all up, and it's going to have ramifications. This ear thing, as well as it being an ear infection, I also know there's a there's a physical infection there, but there's also an energetic upgrade and clearing that's happening. And there's also a degree of, which is why I talked about ears and downloads in my first Lionsgate video, there's also an aspect which is to do with unintentionally absorbing some of the collective angst, because this feels like shell shock. It's literally like a bomb having gone off right outside my house and I can't hear. That's what it feels like, because we're all one. That's one layer of it. One layer of it. There are many other layers. So, yeah, think about an ancestor that you want to bring through the gateway with you. But I'm also feeling as though the whole bloodline's probably going to come through anyway. Okay, just take a moment to think about that. Let's pull a card from the Metatron deck. I've really got a jungle pattern going on today. Shall I just show you my dress, just to lighten up the vibe a bit, because this is high vibe, even though we're looking at different. Look at this. Do you like that? It's actually it's a maxi dress. It goes down to my ankles. I'll be putting my shorts on later though, because it's absolutely boiling. Right, Metatron. I forgive you for waking me up at 3 o'clock. Right. Okay, 3 shot out of the pack, so I guess I'm going to take them, am I? Okay, and I'm going to take the 4th, which is the one on the top. Okay. Right, which order did they come? Conquering fear. These are all the energies around Lionsgate. Mother Earth. Creation. Flower of life. Evolution. Wow, what a foursome they are. Somehow we have to conquer our own personal and collective fear I'm actually hearing not to birth new earth, to walk in new earth. And then once we're through the portal, we then can create what we choose to create. And we can evolve. We can evolve. This is mankind evolving. This is mankind evolving. And that's why, the talk of guns at the start, even if it's triggered some people, I actually don't care, because there's part of me that's talking to the next generation as well as you. Although I know, thank you, vast majority of people on my channel will probably support what I say anyway. But I also know there's going to be a majority that are going to come at me, except you're not going to be able to, because I'm just not accepting it today, okay? I've got my armour on, believe you me. Okay? Again, we're not going to need blinking bulletproof vests in New Earth. Do you think that walking around Eden, we're going to be walking around in bulletproof vests, just in case? No. Metatron says, just clarify something on guns. Okay, I want to just say one other thing, which was quite interesting. Last night, I'll come back to these cards in a moment, I was watching a programme on trains. Oh God, I have such an exciting life. It was actually quite an interesting programme. I don't usually watch programmes on trains. This was Chris Tarrant. He's a funny guy. And he was travelling through Alaska. Okay, so it was like really, he was getting off this Alaskan train, which goes through all of Alaska in the most remote places on Earth, okay? So he'd get off on what he thought looked like quite a big town in Alaska. On the map, it looked like it was quite big. And the train would drop him off, and then he'd just be in the middle of wilderness, snow, ice, nothing there at all. And then the place he had to sleep one night, somebody had gifted it to him or something. It was literally like this wooden hut in the middle of nowhere, which was barricaded so that bears couldn't, get in and kill you, basically. But the point why I'm saying it is because it also showed him going off on a fishing trip. Okay, I know it's not a gun, but it's linked into animals and, oh God, how much more controversial can we get, Metatron? Okay, we're now talking about shooting animals. All right. I'm being shown Alaska as an example because what happened in this program was Chris went ice fishing, and again, they had to drill down this hole through the ice with special equipment, and then they put a little fishing rod, like a children's fishing rod, into the ice hole with a bit of bait, and then a fish came up, okay? Now, my daughter, who's vegetarian and very, very into animal rights, if anything ever comes on about animal cruelty or anything, you know, or she can't even watch Countryfile, it's like we have to turn the channel over. And as soon as she saw it started, she said, "Turn it over, Mum." And I actually said to her, I said, "No, we're not turning it over at this point, because these people are actually fishing for something to eat for their dinner." I said, "There is no Tesco, there is no convenience shop where there is packaged processed cheese and tofu or tins of beans. This is out in the wild. This is survival, okay, for these people." So I'm not talking about, when I'm talking about removal of guns, I'm not talking about it in relation to that type of case, okay? But let's be honest, most people don't live in the middle of the wilderness, where they are fighting off bears, where there is no local shop with tea bags and coffee and chocolate. Most people are living on a street in an area a bit like me, where I can walk 5 minutes and I've got a whole parade of shops selling freshly baked bread, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's the reality. That's where most of us live, because most of us live in towns and cities, or even if we don't, we live within access to them. It's the age of the car. It makes everything possible. So I just wanted to preface that, okay? So when Metatron's talking about disarming, then it's to do with man fighting man. But he's also saying, make them aware, though, that obviously hunting animals for pleasure is a complete no-no. But I think we all know that anyway, don't we? You know, trophy hunting doesn't go into New Earth or anything like that. So the only way it could be permitted is to do with survival and living somewhere which is so remote. And I'm being taken up to like the Eskimos now, and you know, some of the indigenous people, where it's much more it's necessary basically, otherwise they'd starve to death. So just wanted to say that. Back to these cards. Conquering fear. We're being offered an opportunity to let go of our fear and to actually ground that in. What do I mean by that? I think a lot of the time when we try and fight fear, it can be quite fleeting. It's like we can psych ourselves up to be able to cope with, you know, I don't know, the job interview, the dentist, the situation, whatever's causing us fear or anxiety. But yet it can come back in a loop. I do think it's quite interesting that here we're being encouraged to even look at the possibility that we can wipe the energy of fear off the map. Again, I've got to go back to Beirut. Why were those weapons there? Why was the ability there to be able to create explosives? It's because we live in fear. We live in fear of each other. We live in fear of our fellow man. Well, what if they do this? So I have to stockpile. You know, I have to have a gun in case this happens. It's a fear energy. If we can let go of the fear energy, then the earth looks very different. Very, very different. Are we going to see the full extent of this in our lifetime? I'm aware people watch me of different age groups. Some of us won't. I mean, I'm in my 50s. Will I see it? Don't know. I'll see the start of it, maybe. I'll see the little Metatron saying, show the card. I'll see the green shoots. Can you see on this card? You've got the tiny little green shoots. But the thing is, something has to land to birth these little green shoots. What has to land is our ability to even believe that we can conquer fear, that we can that we can live in a world that isn't fear-based. Okay. And that is a big stretch of the imagination, isn't it? I do realise what's being asked here. It's a big stretch of the imagination. I have fear, like you do, of all sorts of things. So for Metatron to be just dropping into the conversation, let's start the conversation in terms of a world where fear is not an energy. I mean, I guess it's obvious. Thinking about it, there are only two energies actually on our planet. Everything, when you look at anything, it all boils down to one of two energies, love or fear. So if we're moving into New Earth and the Golden Age, which is going to be about love, then fear can't coexist with it. It can't. How can it? Just think about that for a moment. How can it? But we have to at least imagine that that is possible. And we've got to imagine it, even though around us it's like, well, I can't see any evidence of those green shoots. I can't see any evidence of this. Well, it's actually about this energy. It's about generational change. It's about the new generations coming in. It's about the star seeds. And you might think, oh, what's that got to do with me? You know, I'm in my 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. You're a guardian. You're a parent. You're part of society. You're the ones that are supposed to help steer these kids. That when they come to you and say something and you're like, oh, yeah, pie in the sky, don't dismiss it, because they truly believe it's possible. Somebody took me back to a video that I made in December 2019. Do you remember the video I made where I had a dream and a vision of it was a really clear dream, stroke vision. And in the dream, I saw a green, a village green. And literally it was like all these pods, and the pods opened and there were these children, there were these thousands of children which had arrived on Earth. Well, they're coming. I mean, they're already arriving, okay? So clearing of the old guard isn't just about clearing of that top echelon, you know, the puppet makers, as I called them in my Beirut video. It's about us as the next layer. What Metatron is saying is that we like hierarchies here on Earth, you know, because it's just our way of understanding. We don't like hierarchies. What I mean is that's our way of understanding reality. So say, for example, all you're concentrating on is the puppet makers, and it's like, you know, oh yeah, you know, when are they going to stop the being bloodthirsty and trading in arms? Well, how can you expect them to stop that if you're not willing to relinquish your weapon? Truly, truly think of that. Why are you expecting somebody like Emmanuel Macron or Justin Trudeau or Donald Trump or Putin or any of them, any of the people on our world stage, to even start to contemplate disarmament when you're not prepared to? It's like, oh no, it's like chicken and egg. No, they do it first. No, it starts from the ground up. It starts from grassroots level. That was another message Metatron gave me at 3:30. I'm glad I remembered that. I would have kicked myself if I'd forgotten that. That for the disarmament that we want to see in our world, if we truly want to live in a world that is not based on fear, and ammunitions and weapon are a byproduct of fear, you wouldn't have one otherwise, then it's going to have to start from the grassroots up. Do you truly believe that the people at the top who've had all the control are just going to be, okay, you know, I'm just going to do this voluntarily? No, it's got to come from the other way up, okay? We have to disarm first. We have to put down also any other weapon that we're carrying. And Metatron's saying weapons to do with our words, with our actions, with our behaviours. If we're acting in violent ways, if we are behaving in violent ways, if we're speaking violent words, okay, it's time to put them down. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, thought like a child, became like a child. It's that passage from Christ. It's becoming childlike again. Innocent. It's a state of innocence. The return to innocence. That song by Enigma keeps coming up. You don't go through any portal loaded with your weaponry. You just don't. Okay, so those are the cards that have come out then. Let's see what wants to come through in terms of walking us through. Just going to do a little bit of tuning fork here. Okay, we're before the Lion's Gate then. This painting was done for me a few years ago and it's been sitting waiting for time to really connect into it. and it was done by a friend of mine, Moona. Thank you, Moona. And Hussein. Hi, both of you. To me, it says here, time is fluid just like our thoughts. Time is fluid just like our thoughts. But what I'm being shown is a porthole. It's a porthole. It's a dimensional porthole that we're being invited to walk through, this Lion's Gate. And it's about transcending what we believe is possible. Didn't we have the message recently about the impossible becoming possible? We have to believe it is so. And we have to walk through this energy. And to me, what these different lines are about are different timelines. They're fluid. They're not fixed. Somebody asked, when does a timeline get fixed? It's when enough people get on board and it reaches a tipping point. That's why it's so important that you hold on to a high vibration and you don't let your energy get lowered at the moment. And you concentrate on the basics: love, forgiveness, compassion, non-judgment. And that includes for all beings. Okay? It's the violet pill teaching. It's seeing yourself in everybody else. So a porthole here. We've just got that supportive energy. Okay, let's bring Metatron in. Let's see where we want to go with this. So just get yourself settled. Your feet on the ground. And in fact, I'd like you to imagine your feet are on the ground. They may very well be on the ground, but feet on the ground, and actually with shoes off, barefoot, okay? So barefoot on the ground, no shoes, no slippers. Very simple clothing. Hair unadorned. Hair unadorned. Barefoot. Simple clothing. And we are before this portal of Lion's Gate. And I'd like you just to visualize a beautiful gateway. And I'm seeing a gigantic arch. Actually looks like a brick archway. It's a brick archway, and at the top of it is a stone lion. And on top of the lion's head, made of stone, is a crown. And on top of the crown is a cross. And the top of the cross, above the top of the cross, is linked to the Syrian star system. And the light of the Syrian star system is flowing down onto the top of the crown, onto the top of the cross, flowing down onto the lion, flowing down over the brick archway. Just take a note of each side of the archway. And I'm just seeing very simple grass growing at each side of this quite simple brick archway. But although it's a very simple construction, it is very old, it's very ancient, it's been there for a long time. It was planted in our earth and is only able to be seen by those with fifth dimensional consciousness. You have to go into your heart to be able to see the archway. Now, when I say see the archway, this is not to do with being clairvoyant. It's to do with also being able to imagine and visualize that it is there, to believe that it is there. And you're just standing in front of this archway, which has now become much wider and much higher than it was before. It's as though it's expanded so that it is creating room and space for as many people who want to pass through it as possible, as well as the line of ancestors behind each person that are also signing up to help build and seed the new earth vibration that is possible in 2020. And each year we build anew and we take a further step into the new earth energy. So being in front of it barefoot, you become aware of the two lions who have been waiting for us to help us pass into it. And these are the two lions that passed recently, Hubert and Klarissa, male and female, divine, Christed, galactic, and earthbound, able to walk between the different realms and to be at all places upon the Rainbow Bridge. They've been waiting to properly transition because they were waiting for us to pass through this Lion's Gate first and to navigate us. The attention is being drawn to the back of the queue waiting to go through the gate, and there are some people there who are very fearful and frightened of moving forward. And so I'm seeing Hubert, the masculine lion, in the front of the crowd. You are in the crowd in front of this archway. Hubert is in front of the crowd. And Klarissa, the female lion, is at the back of the crowd. It's symbolic of nobody being left behind. Where Hubert leads us, Klarissa helps to encourage all at the back who are struggling to take the steps forward to also join the flow and the flock that are moving now through this archway. Note where you are in this huge crowd because there are many of us. Note your position. You might be one of the first. You might be at the back. You might be right in the middle of the crowd, hoping almost that nobody would notice you. Spirit sees everybody that is there. Spirit sees everybody that is there. Everybody is accounted for. Everybody is noticed. And attention is being drawn to your soul light coming from your heart that is shining very, very bright. As you get towards the entrance to the archway, notice a checkpoint. And at the checkpoint are three archangels. Archangel Uriel, Archangel Metatron, Archangel Michael. And you are asked to empty your pockets. You are asked to empty your pockets of any notes containing language, communication, words that you have said to another that have been judgmental, aggressive, lower vibration. And you might say, I'm not carrying any of these notes with me, but yet realize that anything that is uttered from your lips doesn't just go to another, but stays with you. And so also there is a request for forgiveness at this checkpoint by you to these three mighty archangels, all of the times that I have said something, done something, behaved in a way that was not of God. And so the pockets are emptied, and the light that is shining down from the Syrian star becomes like a laser focused on you, and you are showered with the galactic light, and you are also then allowed through, walking in between Metatron, Uriel and Michael, Following Hubert, knowing that others are behind you, knowing that your ancestors are with you, and knowing that everybody who wants to walk through this portal can do so. You find yourself in a very fertile land. And the thing that strikes you about this fertile land is how vibrant it is with nature. The sun shining brightly down, the sky blue and calm, musical notes being heard, the sound of waves, birds flying overhead, flowers growing in abundance, and animals roaming free. You take your place amongst them, and you settle into this garden. Where everything is available to you, where spirit and your higher self can deliver what it is that you need, and where the vibration is high, loving, and light. You notice the others around you. You notice the faces of ancestors you know and that you do not know, and the smiles that are coming from them. Here, healing can take place, and you are showered with the energy of Archangel Metatron's upgrade and expansion energy. And I'd just like you to imagine the rainbow energy flowing down now over you and around the whole crowd. The rainbow is made up of colours that are translucent, sparkling, clear, and new. These are colours not of the old world, but colours of the new. The rainbow's energy enfolds you, flows down over you, and becomes you. This is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and you are there. You are asked simply to stand, to acclimatise, and to be, to take in what you are meant to see, and just experience this new place. On an out-breath, you open your eyes, knowing that you are where you are meant to be, holding the frequency that you are meant to be. Your feet are still bare, your clothes are still simple, but yet upon your head, which was unadorned, there now is a simple garland of flowers, signifying rebirth, transmutation, and upgrade. Welcome to the Lion's Gate Garden. And as you sit down and enjoy, you notice the two lions that have brought the whole group through, and we thank them. Okay, so we'll just have a look at their faces. Hubert, Klarissa, and we give them thanks. Okay. I'm aware that there was a bit of noise there when I was trying to just do that meditation, but the truth is, it's a bit like when you pray for peace. It's exactly the same when you link into upgrade and expansion. There's this very 3D view that it has to be deathly silent. And although I personally love silence, it's actually very hard to find in our world. And very much like I said, in Eden, there are still weeds. In Eden, there is still some noise. Okay, there is the chatter of children playing. You might be able to hear, there's somebody cleaning my house at the moment. There was the noise of somebody delivering groceries next door. You know, it's life. There is this thing about when we go through a portal, it's almost as though what you need to appreciate is it's you are the one that is changing. Life still will carry on, but it's how you look at that life, it's how you do that life, it's how you experience that life, and it's the energy that you're holding. And when you go through any portal, it's about being given the energy that you need for, I'm actually being told the next quarter, which is interesting because, I mean, all the portals are linked, Metatron is saying, and he's taking me up to winter solstice with this one. Okay, so there's very much a link between what we've just done there and the energy that we're holding now. And then the next big one is going to be winter solstice. Doesn't mean that there aren't other events before then. We've got 10:10, we've got 11:11. You know, it's all corridors and doorways, but I'm really being drawn to winter solstice and Christmas this year. And he's saying that this year, 2020, has been difficult and challenging for everybody, whoever you are, because so much is uncertain in this year, in our world and in your world. And it's as though there is a crowning moment in December whereby we are, when I say rewarded, that's like an energetic reward that comes in, an acknowledgement. So it feels as though this Lionsgate portal was it was big, but it was like a staging post for what is to come. And I want just to show you a few cards that I pulled in the middle of that meditation, because my camera also, the battery went, so I've stitched it together. So I had a few moments just whilst I was fiddling around with my camera to pull a few cards. And as we were about to walk through the archway, following Hubert, the cards that came up were really interesting. And you just need to know, in retrospect, what was actually happening there, because you were actually asked to switch off the mental mind, which is why I wanted it to be quite short, sharp and snappy, because it was just like these portals can be simple. We make them to be much more difficult and complicated than they need to be. But in retrospect, it's quite interesting to see what that was all about. So we had the Emperor, we then had the energy of the Devil, we then had the Tower, we then had Death, and we then had 10 of Cups. I mean, that is a powerful combination of cards. This is the order of the old, particularly tied into devil-type energies, shadow energies that you have within yourself, all of us have within ourselves, lower vibrations. There was a tower moment coming, which was stepping through the door, the archway, and a death of the old to bring in the 10 of Cups. That's sort of the garden area where we all are now, okay? So let me just take you through that again, because it's quite mind-blowing actually. The Emperor, which represents order, it represents how we do life, what we're built on, our foundations. It's sort of the way that I am, everybody does it, you know, that type of thing. Justification sometimes for our behaviours as well, our lower behaviours, where we are not acting from a place of godliness. It's that simple. That's why you were asked to you were asked to dress simply and be barefooted. It was very much almost like the monk. It was like humbleness. It was an energy of humbleness that you had to go through that archway with, okay? You weren't able to go in dressed in your baubles and your diamonds and whatever. It was meant to be more organic and natural than that, okay? But yeah, it's like attention was drawn to anything that we're trying to hold on to for dear life that doesn't actually serve us anymore, because it came with the devil, okay? So this is both personal, but it's also collective. Because some people were stubbornly wanting just to hang on to the old, even if it's subconscious, old behaviours, old patterns, old addictions, then the Tower came in to dismantle that, for the death to happen. And that's why I said you can't take guns, you can't take words of violence through the portal. It's just not possible. There has to be a Tower moment, a watershed moment where you let it go. When you let it go, which is what we did, we get to the 10 of Cups energy. This card says it all. This is the happy ever after. This is the rainbow. This is emotional contentment. Does it look as though there's any fear in that card at all? I can't pick up any fear energy there. I can pick up plenty of fear energy here. This is like before going through, this is afterwards, okay? So if you want to, you can, you can go back and do it again. The truth is, I feel as though I've been walking through this portal for the whole week. You know, I've been going back and forwards. And because it's a very linear thing for us to think there's just one moment, it's one opportunity, it's one chance to do it. You are a multi-dimensional being, so appreciate that there might be another aspect of your being that you might just need to mop up. Okay, it's like, you know, it could be almost like inner child. It could be grown up Amanda has walked through the portal, but actually my little girl, hold on, are you sure she's come through here with you? Okay, if that is the case and you're concerned about that, go back and redo it. That's what I mean. Okay, until it feels complete. Okay, until it feels complete. So yeah, interesting. The other thing that I feel is very appropriate for these times that we're in at the moment is that we're all going through a bit of an ego death. That whole thing about turn out your pockets is like, oh, why should I? Why should I show you what's in my pockets? You know, why should I show you who I am? You know, but really, spiritual evolution and advancement beyond this point is we're going to have to be very comfortable with people just, this is who I am. You know, transparency is coming in, total transparency. And people that are trying to hide behind old energies, things, patterns, which are bound into ego, not bound into the energy of the heart and the energy of love. I think you're going to struggle to have the dream. Okay, the star card is the dream, the hope, that the healing, that this particular portal is showering over anybody that's willing to be humble. Okay, to actually be naked before the Lord is what I'm hearing. Okay, to be naked before the Lord, that's what it is. It's like take off all the adornments. That was sort of so beautiful about it, like your hair unadorned, but then actually having been humble, you're then given a simple, beautiful garland of flowers after the process is complete. But it's like we have to be naked before the Lord. What does that mean? It just means I'm just hearing transparency. It's like not hiding behind any persona, no falsehood, you know, tied into ego identity. It's linking into the energy of the heart. This is who I am. You know, those of you that have been watching me a while, you know, you've probably noticed my energy changing recently, and it's just to do with this. It's to do with this Lionsgate energy. It's just like take me as I am, and it's fine if you don't want to take me as I am. You can move on, and there's no hard feelings either way. That's what we need to get to. As I said that, I had a warning come on my camera which said internal temperature too high, allow it to cool. Yeah, it's a really hot day, but it's the first time I've ever seen that message. Just as I was saying, show your authentic self. It's going to be too hot for some people to handle. It's as simple as that. So there are people around you, maybe potentially within your life, who are just not going to get the new you. That's okay. Be with the ones that do, okay? Right, I'm going to go because as I say, I'm not feeling 100% today. It's all I can do this year for Lionsgate. I hope you got something from it. I think far more than the meditation this year, it was about some of the messages that I've been bringing through in this video, in the Beirut video, and in fact in all the videos that I've done this week. I think I've done 4 videos on YouTube. Just look back and see what I've done, because it's very much been steps leading up to this particular video as well. All right, I am going to take a few days off now, although having said that, I'm doing a live with Clara Apollo. She's interviewing me on Monday. I'm not quite sure what time it's going to be, so when I know, I'll put links up to that. Okay, lots of love everyone. Try and keep cool if you're in this heat. If you're in the cool, try and keep that warmth in your heart. We should always have warmth in our heart. Much love. And yeah, these 2 beautiful lions, when I'm feeling a bit more myself, I'm going to try and do some channeling with them and see what they want to say. Right now, they just want to roar. And they're just saying roar. Okay, just like remember to roar. That's what you came here to do. Much love. See you all soon. Bye. Happy Lionsgate. Bye.